Hi everybody. Today I want to talk about longevity versus physical development and how the two require different nutritional protocols. And I want to talk about the type of diet or nutritional protocol I recommend because I've had a lot of people question me on this and I want to provide some clarification. So first off, I don't believe that there's one best diet for all. And anybody who does tell you that is an extreme charlatan and you should ignore them completely. Individuals have different biochemical needs. They have different nutritional needs depending on their age and their aim and the level of organ function that they have or the diseases which they may be suffering from. There is no one diet that's best for everybody. It just doesn't exist. So I want to talk first about a developmental diet. And this is something which I had written a book about, nutritional fortification and physical development. And it is something that's suitable. I think it's the most ideal diet for individuals who are basically toddlers, children, teenagers, and young adults who have not fully matured into their physical genetic potential, you could say. It is not for matured adults who are in their post-reproductive years. And essentially, my thesis is that when you are in those younger years, you should aim to eat the highest quality foods of the most nutrient dense foods and not starve yourself of any macronutrients. So no vegan, no carnivore, no keto. You need high carb, high protein, high fat. And you want to do this in order to develop the skeletal system of your body, fully develop the organ and glandular system, increase skull capacity, and have the full development of your brain. Now, a lot of people who have impacted wisdom teeth, who have impacted teeth in general, who are in need of braces, this is merely a symptom of a skeletal system and a skull which did not get to grow and mature into its full genetic potential. And so it shrinks in on itself because of deprivation of nutrition. And this causes the teeth to basically impact upon one another. Interesting book on this is Weston A. Price's book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. In the indigenous cultures, there's hardly any dental decay and there's no dental misalignment. Everybody grows their teeth in perfectly. It doesn't matter which area of the world you go to, they all have perfect teeth. And it's because they're obtaining the fat-soluble vitamins and minerals needed to properly develop a physique. Now, this way of eating, a developmental way of eating where you're consuming a lot of carbs, proteins, and fats, and of course the carbs have to be safe carbohydrates that haven't had glyphosate sprayed on them or they're going to damage your gut. This causes an individual to grow and develop. I myself gained 70 pounds of mass eating that way. It's basically a lot of protein, pastured protein, a lot of very high quality pastured butter, a lot of high quality raw and cooked eggs, mostly raw, a lot of white rice, a lot of sourdough, high quality orange juice. You're getting the full spectrum of nutrition. Wheatgrass powder for the trace minerals. And so what all of this does by not starving or restricting yourself of any macronutrients, and of course the standard American diet doesn't offer this at all because they're starving you of trace minerals, they're starving you of pastured organic high quality fats, the proteins are very poor quality, and it's primarily a 6 to 12 servings of glyphosate sprayed grains a day diet supplemented with high amounts of sugar, coffee, and tea. That's what the standard American diet is, and it's probably one of the most malnourishing diets ever experimented on a large population in the history of man. It will be remembered as that. But the kind of diet that I recommend for young skinny teenagers or young kids or adults who are still in their early to mid 20s, you don't restrict any macronutrients at all. And what this does, again, the orange juice, you have fructose, the wheatgrass gives you minerals, you're having high quality carbs from rices and sourdough, high quality fats from butter and eggs and meats, and high amount of protein. Don't limit anything. What this does is it gives you the full spectrum of the building blocks to develop a physique. That's basically what it is. Now, would I recommend this for someone who has cancer? Of course not. It's going to make the tumor grow. Would I recommend this for someone who's past their 30s and who gets lethargic and fatigued when they eat a steak? Of course not. It's going to fatigue you harder and it's going to make you age harder. There's a difference between developing a body with healthy food, which is suitable at young age, and then on the other hand, longevity. And if you're probably past the age of 30, your body has already settled in to what it's going to achieve in this lifetime, unless you take synthetic steroids, which will really just screw you up possibly. And a longevity diet, what every single study ever done on longevity has in common is caloric restriction. So those who eat the least have the least disease and live the longest. If you look at the Maasai, okay, if you look at the Maasai, their elders, when they reach a certain age, stop consuming protein completely because it can be very fatiguing to digest. It requires a lot of digestive effort on the part of the digestive organs, right? The pancreas, the gallbladder, the liver, the kidneys, and the stomach acid. And when you're in old age, as you age, your body deteriorates and has less of an ability to digest, absorb, and utilize the nutrition from your foods for repair. So why would you want to go on a developmental diet? You can't digest that much food. I mean, imagine, I know a lot of people, even in their 40s and 50s, they go carnivore and they feel much better because they have a cessation of their symptoms, and that's totally valid. However, eventually down the line, you're going to exhaust your organs because digesting food, especially meat, it's easy to digest because it's not fibrous and it just slides through the digestive tract. But especially when it's cooked, you're relying on high amounts of stomach acids, bile from the gallbladder, and enzymes from the pancreas to digest this food, and that doesn't come for free. It's very similar to the sexual fluid. You can't always be excreting sexual fluid or you'll break down and degenerate. Well, the digestive fluids are much the same. As you age, you have less than the ability to absorb nutrition from your food and use that nutrition to rebuild digestive fluids again and digestive acids and enzymes. And thus, as this degradation occurs over time, you have less and less of an ability to digest the food in the first place. So what the Maasai do, back to the Maasai, is as they age, they almost completely limit protein. They just have cream from milk and they have animal fat in the form of soups and broths. If you watch my video, Why Fat is the Key to Longevity, My Protein Causes Aging, I put the card up here. I basically show the Maasai talking about this, that they're elder men, as they age, they only consume fat. Let's go into modern context, modern people. The majority of us, C-sectioned, fed baby formula, given high fructose corn syrup from the age of 1 or 2, 6 to 12 servings of grains a day, vegetable seed oils, antibiotics every time your body had a flu, or every time your body had a cold or a virus, which is merely a detoxification process. But every time we had that, we were given antibiotics, which further impair organ function and stay in the body almost permanently for 99% of people. There's 100,000 chemicals in our environment, in the food, water, and air. And all of these are neurotoxins. They damage organs and they stay within the cellular membranes and deep tissues of the body. So the majority of us in our mid-20s have the organ function and the hormonal profile of an 80-year-old indigenous man. And this is why hormone replacement therapies and testosterone replacement therapies are so prevalent and common today amongst men in their 20s and 30s and also women. Of course, men in their 40s and 50s forget about it. And it's because of, again, what has happened to us. So the Maasai man, he may stop eating protein at 70 or 80 and go on a high-fat diet. But for us, we don't have the same organ function as them. We may start to feel like an 80-year-old man at the age of 20, 30, 40. And at that point, you have a choice. If you want to extend longevity, you have to do a 90% fat diet, or what I recommend for longevity. And this is something which I myself have personal experience with, and it's something I learned from various masters of longevity. But what you would want to do is consume the most raw, nutrient-dense foods in the most pre-digestible form, which give you the most nutrition, but require the least amount of digestive effort or taxation on the part of your body's organs or systems. And these are examples of this, okay? You do like something I incorporate in my diet. It's I call it the almond formula, but it's basically soap sprouted almonds blended with coconuts and coconut fat, and then you pre-digest it with a probiotic, kind of like how a sourdough is pre-digested. And what you essentially have there is an extremely high concentration of minerals and protein, which do not build and develop the body, they just sustain the body, and it's completely pre-digested. No digestive effort on your part at all. And for example, right now I'm 6'1", 205 pounds, and I probably eat between 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day, and I'm able to sustain optimal brain function, my mass, and great energy by eating this way. If I go back on a developmental diet where I'm having high carb, high protein, high fat, trying to build the body, I'll get very lethargic and fatigued. So there's different ways of eating at different times and in different ages. Back to this topic of hormonal depletion. The reason why, if you may tell a young man today, a young boy, an 8-year-old, that he perhaps is not a boy and that he is a girl, he may actually believe you because he actually feels, this 8-year-old boy feels like an 80-year-old man. So this assault on our indoctrined system is so bad now at this point that the kids are having the hormonal profiles of senior citizens. And there's various ways to reverse this, and it's not easy, but you would use an infrared sauna therapy and certain other protocols, and I'll get into this in other videos. I haven't shared yet, but I was autistic at one point. I developed a form of autism, and it was because of the amount of heavy metals I was poisoned by. I had several various incidents where I was poisoned and I lost brain function and the capacity to be able to communicate and hold eye contact. But I instinctually knew that I could reverse it, and that's how I got into health. Now, speaking on masters of longevity who are practicing what I just talked about, eating raw, strong, pre-digested foods, which offer a lot of nutrition but tax the body's organs very little or have virtually no taxation on the body's organs, there's various individuals who are practicing this in modern times. Brian Clement of the Hippocrates Health Institute, he's 70. Lou Corona, he's 70. He's someone I learned a lot from, him and Brian. Victorias Kolvinskas, I think he's in his late 80s. Gabriel Cousins, he's in his mid 80s, and they're doing amazing. There are other various masters of times past from India and the Orient who lived to 150, 200, and even longer. And I'll get into that in a different video, but primary way they do this is that in their post-reproductive years, they grow sprouts, or they go pick wild herbs which are growing in the wild, and they consume those. They primarily subsist off of those. What Brian Clement, for example, does, and what Gabriel and Victoria's and Lou do, is that they grow a sprout house, either in their patio, backyard, wherever it may be, and they harvest the raw living plants which are alive and living in real time and grown in very rich soil, which is almost like engineered with extreme consideration for the biology and mineral content of the soil. And this offers essentially what the wild deers are eating, what all the wild herbivorous animals are eating. I mean, imagine a steak, although you need it to develop, it's butchered somewhere in the Midwest. They freeze it and ship it to you. You receive it in the supermarket perhaps a month or 2 months later. There's a lot that you lose in that process. It's not the same as hunting an animal and eating it on the spot. There is an electromagnetic force, an electric principle in nature which sustains and animates the entire universe. And when an organism dies, this electromagnetic force starts to dissipate rapidly. And it essentially is what the soul is. The soul is electromagnetic. The spirit is electromagnetic. And they animate physical organic bodies. Now, plant foods, what's cool about them is that you can grow many different types in trays as sprouts and harvest them on the spot, and you have a readily available dose of electromagnetic nutrition. There may be a lot of skeptics about this, but when an individual has a heart attack and passes, why is it that paramedics don't give him a vitamin or water? In order to resuscitate him, they attempt to give him an electric charge through a defibrillator. We are electromagnetic beings. I hope this clarified some things for you guys. I know it was a lot. If you have any questions, please comment in the comment section below. If there's anything else you would like me to cover, also comment. I'll get to it as time permits. But again, to summarize all this, for longevity, there's one way of eating. And for physical development, for children, there's another way of eating. And then if you have certain diseases, there's another way of eating, and there's other things I would advise. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you and have a wonderful day.